Welcome back to the World Cup brief. The round of 16 was carnage. Brazil are out, Ronaldo's World Cup is over, and both host nations have fallen. Today we're going deeper on the 5 stories that shook the tournament.
Clutch the moment. Clutch brief.
First up, the shock of the tournament. Brazil are gone. The biggest shock of the World Cup so far. Norway, at their first tournament in nearly 3 decades, have knocked out Brazil, beating the 5-time champions 2-1 to reach the quarter-finals for the very first time in their history. And inevitably, the man who did it was Erling Haaland. It looked like being Brazil's night when they won an early penalty, but Vinícius handed it to Bruno Guimarães, whose spot kick was saved by Örjan Nyland. Goalless and frustrated, Brazil pushed and pushed until Haaland struck on 79 minutes, and again 11 minutes later with a low drive from outside the box. Neymar's stoppage-time penalty was far too late. 7 goals in just 4 World Cup games now, level with Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi at the very top of the scoring charts. And he barely needed the ball to do it, just 4 touches inside the box all night. For Norway, it's history, back at a World Cup for the first time since 1998, and now into the last 8 for the very first time, with the striker, one report, simply called a cheat code leading the charge. The big talking point was that penalty. Vinícius, so often Brazil's man for the big moment, didn't take it, and afterwards he defended the call. It was the manager's decision, he said, and it shows he hasn't been selfish. For Brazil, it's a disaster. Their hopes of a record-extending 6th World Cup are over, undone by a missed penalty and a ruthless Haaland. And the questions around Carlo Ancelotti's nostalgia-tinged side will only grow louder. Norway, though, more than deserved it. They even outpassed Brazil for long spells, with Nyland saved the platform for it all. Next, they'll meet England in the last 8. And after this, nobody will fancy trying to stop Haaland. Next, Cristiano Ronaldo's World Cup story comes to an end. In Dallas, a chess match and heartbreak for a legend. Spain beat Portugal 1-0, and it was decided in the very last minute by a substitute, Merino. His stoppage-time winner sent Spain into the quarter-finals and ended what Cristiano Ronaldo had already admitted would be his last World Cup. For 90 minutes, 2 of the tournament's favourites cancelled each other out. Slow, careful, the superstars kept quiet. It seemed destined for extra time, until substitute Ferran Torres found fellow substitute Merino with a clever run, and the Arsenal midfielder slotted coolly past Diogo Costa in the 91st minute. The ultimate super sub. Merino came off the bench and won the tie with practically the last kick of the game, and Spain march on without ever really getting out of second gear. For Ronaldo, at 41, it's the end of a road. Before the game, he'd been defiant. He decides when it's over, he said, but he admitted this would be his last World Cup. Now that farewell has arrived, a single step short of the quarter-finals. It extends Portugal's cursed record in the knockouts. No deep World Cup run, their superstars unable to deliver when it mattered most, and the final act of Ronaldo's World Cup career playing out in a quiet defeat. And there was a second casualty. Within moments of the final whistle, Roberto Martinez resigned as Portugal manager, ending a 3.5-year tenure. Spain, meanwhile, looked quietly, ominously well-drilled, and they are through. And for all the talk of the old guard bowing out, Spain's future was on show too. 18-year-old Lamine Yamal, pulling the strings as La Roja reached the last 8. Then a World Cup classic at the Azteca, and England hang on. One of the great World Cup nights. At a raucous, hostile Azteca, and after an hour-long weather delay, England beat the co-hosts Mexico 3-2, and did it with 10 men. Jude Bellingham was the star, with 2 goals in 2 minutes before Harry Kane settled it from the spot. Bellingham lit it up with a 2-minute double just before half-time. Julian Quinones gave Mexico hope, but Kane restored the 2-goal cushion from the penalty spot just after the hour. Raul Jimenez then pulled one back, and when Jarell Quansah was sent off, England had to survive the closing stages a man down. 10 men at altitude in the most hostile atmosphere of the tournament, England withstood a Mexican barrage to hold on. Harry Kane reportedly even lost his voice, screaming instructions at his teammates. Thomas Tuchel knew exactly what it meant. It felt, he said, almost like they'd won a final, and few England performances in recent memory have carried this kind of grit and defiance. At the heart of it all, Jude Bellingham. 2 goals in the space of 2 first-half minutes, the kind of moment that can define a tournament delivered on the grandest of stages. It nearly didn't start on time. Thunderstorms forced an hour-long delay, and once it did, the Azteca was a cauldron of noise. Jordan Pickford was crucial again in goal as England rode both their luck and their nerve. It goes down as one of England's greatest away nights, surviving a red card, a fight back, and the sheer noise, and it sets up a quarter-final with Norway. The reward for beating the hosts, a date with Erling Haaland. Now the co-hosts crash out, and it wasn't close. The host nation's World Cup is over, and Belgium made a real statement in ending it. A 4-1 win in Seattle knocked the United States out, with Charles de Ketelaere scoring twice as the Belgians cruised into the quarter-finals. De Ketelaere struck early, and though Malik Tillman levelled for the USA, the equaliser lasted just 2 minutes before de Ketelaere restored Belgium's lead. Hans Vanaken made it 3 after the break, and Romelu Lukaku added a late 4th. The American backline was overmatched all night long. 4-1, and there was no fairy tale for the hosts. Belgium was simply the better side from first minute to last, and they'll now face Spain in the quarter-finals. It came after a chaotic build-up. FIFA controversially suspended Folarin Balogun's red card ban to let the USA striker play, a decision that left UEFA and the Belgian FA astonished. But on the night, Balogun was anonymous, completely outshone by the man of the moment, de Ketelaere. 2 goals for Charles de Ketelaere, the 24-year-old the star of a comfortable Belgian night, and a sobering end to the story for the tournament's biggest host. For the United States, out in the last 16 on home soil, it's a chastening end, a defence picked apart, and a home tournament that had promised so much more, finishing with barely a whimper. The whole build-up had become a political circus, with reports even claiming interventions at the very highest level over Balogun's eligibility. In the end, none of it mattered a jot. Belgium's quality had settled the tie long before any of the noise could. And so the tournament loses one of its headline acts. The home crowds, the momentum, the sense of a nation swept along, all of it gone in the last 16, as Mauricio Pochettino's United States were simply blown away. And finally, the last co-host falls and Africa's flag bearers roll on. The World Cup's other co-host is out too. In Houston, Morocco ended Canada's dream with a 3-0 win, Azzedine Ounahi scoring twice as the African side powered into the quarter-finals. It was goalless at the break, but Ounahi settled it after the restart, curling Morocco in front on 50 minutes and adding a second late on. Soufiane Rahimi rounded off a comfortable 3-0 win deep into stoppage time. 2 goals for Azzedine Ounahi, the difference in Houston, and another quiet statement from a Morocco side that is building something serious at this tournament. For Canada, it's the end of a historic co-hosting adventure. They competed and they belonged, but they couldn't find a way past Morocco, and many believe this tournament has changed the sport in the country for good. Morocco, though, roll on into the quarter-finals, unbeaten and full of belief. After everything they achieved 4 years ago, they've quietly become one of the teams that nobody left in this tournament wants to draw. Into the quarter-finals they go, carrying a continent's hopes with them. After their history-making run to the semi-finals 4 years ago, this Morocco side genuinely believe they can go a step further, as Canada, for their part, leave with their heads held high, a landmark run to the last 16 on home soil, a golden era emerging around Jonathan David, and a platform, they hope, for the game to keep growing at home. That's your World Cup brief, a round of 16 that shook the tournament to its core. Brazil and Portugal gone, both hosts out, and England surviving an instant classic. 8 teams remain. We'll be back for the quarter-finals, so hit subscribe and never miss what happened.